Good evening. Um, Tonight, this lesson is, I guess, kind of a repeat. I don't know if Eric ever does this, but I wrote this a long time ago. And then when I wanted to do it, I wasn't really in the right frame of mind to give it. So I put it kind of on the back burner. And then I thought, you know what? I'd like to revisit that and kind of talk about it. Um, I want to talk about this. It's kind of, not necessarily like a fashion, I get maybe, but then at the same time, it's something that happened to me that I hope maybe you can um, hear about and then say, okay, I don't want to do that, or maybe I can learn from that. I wrote this lesson back in May, and in May, what I thought was going on in my life was the best thing in a while. I got some really good news, some really exciting news. Of course, most of you know I'm a teacher, and then I never really wanted to be a teacher, so to speak. I always wanted to be an administrator. So, but you got to be a teacher before you can be an administrator. So I always want to be a vice principal, really. I wanted to be that guy that with the keys that's walking down the hallway, making sure that there's no scuffs on the floor, and making sure kids behave. I want to be that guy. Still do, but anyways, I had tried really, really hard to get that job, and I'd interviewed lots of times, and I always come up short. I didn't have experience, whatever. Well, I finally started getting some experience. I thought, okay, it's my time. Well, in May, I got the nod. Like all the bosses come around to you. They're like, "Hey," and I was kind of getting the, "Hey, we see what you're doing," and I was like, "All right, it's my time." Well, I talked to the school, the principal there. He's like, "Hey, all right, it's your time. This is it." I was like, "Man, this is awesome. This is finally happening." Well, I said, "Okay, let's get to work." So we're for a couple of weeks there we're doing it, but wait just a second though. We got to make sure everything's done by the book. Everything. So okay, we'll have to still do a formal interview process. That's the law. I said, "Okay, yeah, that's fine. Don't worry though." Okay, all right. So everything goes smooth as could be. We're ready. And then I even do my little interview. We'll do the interview. Everything's fine. All right. Well, the next day I hear, "I'm sorry, Daniel, but." I thought, oh, okay. So I'm sorry, Daniel, but we're going to go a different route. Okay. All right. Devastated. I think that was on like a Monday or something or another. And I was actually set to do this lesson on Wednesday that I wrote. So my whole lesson was about how God answers your prayers. And so I'm going to give that lesson. And here's why. Now, this summer was rough. It was rough for me. It was hard because it's something I wanted. My wife, my family, we all, everybody knew. Several of you probably knew too. But it was rough for me because, I struggled with that. I had lots of emotions, obviously. I was confused. I was sad. I was angry. And I mentioned I was angry. I was pretty mad. A lot of things I did, I went through the motions because that was what I was supposed to do, like showing up here. I came here because that's what I was supposed to do. Not that I necessarily even wanted to be here. I didn't want to see a lot of people. I don't know, it was weird. It was a weird state of mind. We had 2 awesome vacations planned over the summer. We went to the beach like the next week, and here I am sulking the whole time, and then we went to Disney not too long after. Even in the happiest place on earth, I still couldn't help but think about that. I mean, it was rough. And then, so you're probably thinking now, all right, maybe he's going to give this lesson about how you can overcome obstacles and about being resilient. After the football team loses 5 games and they finally win one, the coach always says, "This team's resilient." That's the word they have to use. Well, I could talk about that, and all that's true. And I had to do all that. Like I had to work through that process. I had to ask God for forgiveness a lot. But I'm not going to talk to you about that tonight. Tonight, I'm still going to talk to you about how God answers your prayers. Because even though I wasn't in a good spot, and even though I remember doing some of it, we had Ben's lessons where, we're talking about that. I remember one night we was talking about wrestling with God, and I was sitting here and but then once I got through all of that, I did actually, of course, I don't work there anymore. I have a new job, and really, I didn't even want to teach. I was done. Like I was done with that. I'll go anywhere but that. Well, I got one last chance. Uh, my current employer, principal called me. And she said, "Hey, would you like to come work there?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure. Just I need a job. I had to pay my bills. Sure." Um, well, I got offered a music job. And I thought, okay, yeah, all right. Well, maybe I can warm up to this. And I've always been an assistant with music, but never a full time. So I thought, okay, yeah, sure, I'll do that. So I got to doing that. Started the year off. Everything was going great, and then it got me thinking, like, okay, how is this different, and what is it about the same? So let's turn to John 15. We're going to read about the vines, being the vine dresser. In John 15, verse 1, we'll read several of them here. I am the true vine, and my Father is the vine dresser. Every branch in me that does not bear fruit, he takes away. And every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes, that it may bear more fruit. Already you are clean because of the word that I have spoken to you. Abide in me, and I in you. As the branch cannot bear fruit by itself, unless it abides in the vine, neither can you unless you abide in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. Whoever abides in me and I in him, he it is that bears much fruit, for apart from me you can do nothing. If anyone does not abide in me, he is thrown away like a branch and withers. And the branches are gathered, thrown into the fire, and burned. If you abide in me and my words abide in you, ask whatever you wish and it will be done for you. First off, I really wasn't in much of a state of mind to be attached to any kind of vine, honestly. I know that's sad to say. I wasn't bearing any fruit this summer. In fact, I was probably distancing myself from people that were trying to help me bear fruit. I just didn't want any part of that. And of course, as we can see, that's not a very good way to be. What happens when you don't bear fruit? Well, you get cut, and you get thrown away, and they burn it, right? Well, I didn't realize that at the time. Luckily, I wasn't cut, set aside, and burned. Then I realized, all right, I've got to start bearing fruit. All right, my life is now, obviously, my life is a whole lot different than it was back in the summer. But that last verse there really says it all. In verse 7, if you abide in me and my words abide in you, there's that dual relationship there. Ask whatever you wish and it will be done for you. Well, it turns out I was asking for God, to give me this dream job. And of course, how many times have you heard that? What you think might happen doesn't happen that way, but everything happens for a reason, right? Well, in 1 John chapter 5, we'll start in verse 14 there. It says, and this is the confidence that we have toward him, that if we ask anything according to his will, he hears us. And if we know that he hears us in whatever we ask, we know that we have the request that we have asked of him. So I was at about week 1 or 2 of my new school. And of course, now Katie was still at the other place. And we spent a lot of time talking about that. And I think we just dumped the kids off with the in-laws, and me and Katie were going out. And she finally said, she looks at me and says, well, how's things going for you? How's your job? And I couldn't stop. And I just said, well, I love it. This is my program. This is my band for a change. I'm not the assistant anymore. I get to go to school and sing Skinnamarink Dinky Dink. We dance, we have a great time. Like, it's great. Like, everybody loves it. The climate culture is great. Yeah. Who would have thought? I was ready to quit everything. I mean, it's great. And then Katie looks at me and then she said, well, you see, God does answer prayers. And it's like, yeah. Who would have thought, right? But we all knew that. And that's when it hit me. It hit me like, whoa, yeah, this whole time, what I thought was going to happen from my perspective was exactly what was not supposed to happen, and what actually happened was what was supposed to happen. All right, kind of weird way of saying that there. But you see, I was asking the wrong things, or at least I was asking them the wrong way. I was asking God for what I wanted, not what his will be done. There's also several warnings about that in the Bible as well. One particular in James 4, verse 3, says, "You ask and do not receive because you ask wrongly to spend it on your passions." I was asking for what I wanted, not for God's will be done to me. But isn't it refreshing to know that God knows what we need before we even ask for it? In Isaiah 65, verse 24, it says, "Before they call, I will answer. While they are yet speaking, I will hear." God knew exactly what I needed. He knew what my family needed. I guess through the whole process, it gave me opportunity to learn as well. I was ready to do a lot of things, not come to church, not go to work, not enjoy a lot of things. Luckily, I still did, and that's good. That's why we come. I'm sure I'm probably not the only person that's felt that way. But let God's will be done. Pray about your troubles. Don't stop praying because something didn't go to your plans. There were times when I thought, man, if somebody says, just pray about it one more time, isn't that a horrible way to think? But it's because it wasn't going my way. We have to let God settle that stuff for us. So maybe you're struggling with something as well. Maybe you can get something out of what happened to me. Maybe you didn't get a promotion you thought you were owed or you were expected, or you're just feeling alone without help. Isn't it great to know that God knows exactly what we need before we even know what we need? He knows. But what we all need is redemption from sin. We all know that. That's something we definitely need. So I'll end you with this. Let God's will be done. Bear more fruit. God gave us the perfect sacrifice. All we have to do is do the work. We have to show up. We have to put forth the effort, and God's will be done. If something is bothering you, if you need the prayers of the church, if you'd like to be baptized, if there is any way we can help in any way, please come forward as we stand and sing.